Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all keeping well. And yeah, something a little bit different today. There is a massive part of photography that I don't often share on this channel, and that is editing, post-processing. As much as I love being out on location, that's where my true passion lies. That's why I'm always making videos out on location, taking photographs, talking you through composition, etc, etc. I really like post-processing as well, so I don't really understand why I don't share it as much on this channel. I think it's been my kind of norm to go out on location, go hiking, go into woodlands, go to the coast and film videos there. However, recently a bit of an opportunity came up to work with a company called Luminar, who are sponsoring today's video. Or the company is called Skylum, but they've got a wonderful a piece of post-processing software called Luminar Neo. I've worked with them before, and it's a program that I have used regularly over the past few years for my own photographs. And I thought, why not? This would be a great opportunity to share a piece of software that I think is fantastic. I think it's extremely useful, extremely practical, and it's also got quite a lot of features that you might find pretty cool as well. And yeah, I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk through post-processing a little bit and share some of the photographs that I took in Norway. So I spoke about this on a previous video, but about a month ago now, I went on a cruise to Norway, and it wasn't a photography trip, it was just a family holiday. However, obviously I had to take my camera with me, and I got some of my favourite photographs that I got in years. So these are all the raw files, and we'll go through some of them today whilst looking through some of Luminar Neo's wonderful post-processing features. But yeah, it had some fantastic conditions. A lot of these images that you see in here, like these ones and these ones here, were taken from the cruise ship itself. This particular one here we'll get into, that was my favourite photograph of the whole trip. But yeah, let's get into it. So this first photograph here is actually a very easy one to start with. This is going to be a good example of how easy it is to use Luminar Neo. And this is probably the main thing that I'd like you to perhaps take away from this video, if you've got any interest in this software, is that it's very, very beginner friendly. If you're the type of person that's perhaps not mad into post-processing, you know, like I said, I really enjoy it, but I know a lot of people don't. I think this is a great program because it's got a lot of what they call AI enhanced features that make the job a heck of a lot easier. And this first one here, I'm going to be using this a lot in this video because it's extremely good. It's in my favorite section here, is this Enhance AI, which is brilliant. And it's literally one slider or two sliders if you want to use the sky enhancer as well. This accent slider is magic. I don't know, I can't tell you what it does or how it does it. It's just mind-blowing. So as I move this up here, look, it changes the saturation, it changes the contrast, it seems to change the sharpening, the blacks and the whites. And like if I put that on, say 80 there and do a before and after, that's the raw file. That's after spending 3 seconds with one slider already. It is incredible. Now, just so that you're aware, you can, you can do all your normal kind of post-processing edits as well in this essentials module. So you go into a develop module here, you can still mess around with your exposure. You can still play, you can still bring your shadows up, contrast, blacks, whites, all of your temperature, tint, saturation. So I'd go in here and I'd bring it down a tiny bit. It's a little bit oversaturated for my liking. You can add sharpening. So you've even got, where is it? Down here you can add a vignette, which I probably will on this one. It's brilliant. So yeah, very, very simple, and you can keep it as simple or as complicated as you like, but that's what I really wanted to say from the off. If you're a beginner, or if you're intimidated by post-processing, or if you don't really like spending a lot of time doing it, like I said, Luminar Neo is fantastic for you. And go back to the catalogue. These two images actually, we'll work on this one next. The one I've just edited and this one were actually taken off the side of a bus One of those big red tourist buses that, to be honest, I wasn't mad to go on. But it was amazing. It took us down to a big glacier. I got some shots down there as well. And it was a really, you know what, I'm going to say a humbling experience. I'm going to be honest here. I've always judged the big red tourist buses and looked at them and thought, I'm not getting on one of those things. But we got on it and it was fantastic anyway. The local guide, and there was like commentary on it, giving us loads of information. It was brilliant. But anyway, my point was that these two images of these buildings were taken from the moving bus. So you can see here, shot at 1600ths of a second, very quick shutter speed, and you can see a bit of the road down here. But again, I can go into the edit, I can go straight to enhance AI, and I can just look at that. Let's put it on 80 again. That seems to be a bit of a sweet spot, doesn't it? Look at it. That's one slider. Raw file. Edit. It's amazing. And then I can go down into my develop module. I'll bring the exposure up a little bit. And all I'm doing here is looking at the image, thinking, what do I want to change? And if I go back to the Enhance AI section, you'd have noticed there's a sky enhancer as well, which if we bring that up, you can see, again, maybe it just judges it based on the actual photograph. In this particular instance, it seems to be making it a lot more dramatic. Flipping 2 or 3 sliders and look at it. It's amazing. Now, what I've noticed sometimes, and this is just my own personal preference of how I like colours in photographs to look, is the accent slider and the sky enhancer definitely can introduce a little bit of a blue tint to your photographs. You might like it, but I'm not a big fan of the old blue tint. But you can go down to the colour in the Essentials module here, go down into this panel, HSL, saturation, and we can play around with specific colours. So obviously there's a lot of green in here. I can bring down the saturation of the greens, bring it up, I wouldn't want to do that. But it's the blue that I find a little bit distracting up here. So I bring the blue down just a little bit. There we go. To me that looks a lot more natural right from the off. But again, we've only messed around here for a minute or two. You know, I'm really happy with how much of a good example that is of how easy this is. So I'll move on to perhaps another, let's get on to this image here. This is my favourite photograph of the whole trip. However, horrifyingly, there was a big issue with this photograph. And I spoke about this in a recent video. Look at the settings. So long story short, this image was taken off the side of the cruise ship. So we were moving, obviously the boat was moving, and for this particular photograph, again this is the raw file if it's not obvious, the boat, if you can imagine, sort of came down this way through this channel and it moved around the island here, and it was spectacular. The light was unbelievable. There was streaks of light piercing through the clouds. The rain was on and off. It was very difficult to shoot, but some of the best conditions I've ever witnessed in my life, genuinely. And this raw file does not, it just doesn't do any of the conditions justice whatsoever. But yeah, if you look at the settings up here, they don't really add up. I was shooting at ISO 4000, and if I zoom into the photograph here, you can see, look, especially in the shadows up here and down here, there's a lot of noise. And I was gutted when I got this image home because I didn't realise I was shooting at such a high ISO. And what I'd done, bit long-winded, but I was shooting in aperture priority, auto ISO, so the camera was choosing the ISO, but I'd also set a minimum shutter speed to 1/1000th of a second, which was fine earlier on when it was bright, because the ISO didn't need to go up because obviously it was a lot brighter. And I'd set that minimum shutter speed because we were on a cruise ship. I'd never photographed off a cruise ship before, and I was just a bit worried that obviously we were moving where we were stood. And I remember doing it. I remember thinking, right, I'll put it on 1/1000th of a second. That'll be fine. It means all the images are going to be sharp. And I just forgot to change it. So as it got darker, man, obviously then the camera had no problem overcompensating the ISO and shooting that up. So I was a bit disappointed when I got it back. But this is going to be a really good example in Luminar Neo of how we can get rid of most of that noise. First and foremost, I'm going to crop this photograph into a 16:9. I did this with a lot of the images from the cruise ship because, you know, naturally I had a lot of the sea in the image because of, you know, I didn't have much choice considering where I was photographing from. So I cropped a lot of them into a 16:9, and instantly that looks a lot better to me. But again, the noise is horrendous. ISO 4000 on a Micro Four Thirds, not great. But this is a fantastic feature, this Noiseless RAW or Noiseless AI feature, that helps to just get rid of a lot of the noise, if not all of it. Whilst critically, this is important, while still retaining a lot of the detail, a lot of the sharpness in the photograph. So we'll do it here in real time. By the way, this is important to mention, every feature here on the right hand side in Luminar Neo have got these little information buttons, which I think again comes back to the real beginner friendly thing about Luminar Neo. If you click on it here, it just tells you what it does, what it's for. Noiseless AI in Luminar Neo is a sophisticated AI-powered noise reduction tool designed to eliminate luminance and chroma noise from your images, resulting in cleaner and visually appealing photos. And you can go through it, you know, for example, erase here. It's probably quite obvious. The erase tool helps you to remove unwanted objects with a few clicks, you know, and you can go through. Again, vignette is an obvious one. Darkens or lightens the edges of your image, so you get the point. Anyway, let's have a go at this. Where's it gone? This noise image quality removal tool. Advice: use the middle adjustment for this image. So we'll do that. Perhaps it analyzes the image somehow, and yeah, gives you some advice based on what it feels is the best option. And there we go. And I just think that is fantastic. So especially if you look at the shadows here, look at all of that noise. That's the before, that's the after. Before and after, and it just hasn't, I'm sure you'll agree, affected the sharpness of the photograph at all. And then we can make a few sort of normal edits from here. I'm going to go in and use my old mate, the Accent AI, which is just incredible. And I've edited this. I was so excited when I got this photograph home. I spent ages editing it, and somehow the Accent AI has got it quite close to what I wanted in the first place. I'm going to bring the sharpness up on this photograph quite significantly. And a quick before and after. It's just amazing. And one thing that I love about this image, even the raw file to an extent, is how it's very kind of warm on the left-hand side here and very cool on the right-hand side. And this is a great opportunity for me to be able to show you that you can use masking in Luminar Neo as well, which means that we can make local adjustments. We can only make edits to certain parts of the photograph rather than what are called global edits, making adjustments to the whole image at the same time. So I'm going to put in a linear gradient here on the left-hand side of the image. So anything that's red will be affected here by any edits that we make. And I just want to make it appear a bit more as if the sun's streaming in from that left-hand side, and make it a little bit warmer as well. So maybe not that much, don't want to overdo it. Quick edit, but something like that. And again, before and after the image really starts coming to life, I just think that looks absolutely beautiful. Now, back to the catalogue. Let's move down. I've got a few of these selected deliberately. Oh, this is a quick and easy one of something that I think is really cool here. So this was, we were just out on a little bit of a walk. Obviously, it's not, strictly speaking, a landscape photograph, but just a little, I don't know, like a little everyday travel photograph. I just loved this beautiful kind of rustic cabin. I loved the browns contrasted with the blacks and the white writing. I thought it looked great. Now, these generative tools are brilliant. So again, it's definitely some sort of AI going on here. We'll try the Gen Erase. Excuse me. Now this will get rid of things in the photograph. So for example, let's say there's a ladder over here on the right hand side. Let's say we wanted to get rid of that. I probably wouldn't in this particular photograph because it doesn't really bother me. But it's a good example. And we'll just draw a really sort of basic mask, I suppose, round the ladder. And hopefully, we just click on erase there. Hopefully, the software is then just going to get rid of the ladder, but critically making it look very, very natural. And there we go. Absolutely amazing. So I'm going to zoom out because it's not like we're going to... Well, I'll just show you a quick before and after from there. Like, look at it. It obviously knows like what's going on around the ladder, and it puts something in there. It basically creates a little section of the image to make it look really natural. And obviously we're zoomed right in on it there as well. You know, if I was to go out like this, before, look at the ladder on the right hand side down here. It just looks incredibly natural. So like, I'm a big fan. Well, not a big fan. I was going to say I feel really comfortable taking things out of a photograph if I don't want it to be there. Like if there's a bit of litter in the foreground, or even if there's a kind of a branch in a tree that's sticking into the frame and I just don't like it. I've no problem doing that. I'm generally just not a massive fan of adding things to a photograph. But look, that's just me. And in fact, let me find another photograph here, because I want to show you what the software is capable of. You know, it's all well and good me saying I don't like adding things in, but maybe you do. I don't know. So again, this was just out on another walk. Beautiful little scene here. It seems like we can just use one slider now to edit our photographs. Actually as well, that's absolutely ridiculous. Look at that. Flipping heck, that is absolutely amazing, isn't it? One slider, it loves that 80 around about there. That looks like I could be happy with that. Print it out, done, job done. That's amazing. Now the feature that I want to show you here, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of it. It's not for me, but like I said, you might be, so I'll show you. And it's sky replacement. So it's this one here, Sky AI. And you can add various different skies in here. Blue sky, bright blue sky, dramatic sunset, whatever you want. Let's go for dramatic sunset. The reason being because I know that this was shot in the middle of the day. So surely this will be, I suppose, quite a difficult one for it to do. Wow. Obviously not. That's amazing. If you see what it does here, I'll do before and after. This is really critical. Well, two things that I've noticed. One of them's just blown my mind. I've just noticed this now. That's the before. It's quite cool. The whole photograph. Don't just concentrate on the sky here. And then after, it adds the sky, but it also changes the temperature and the mood and the feel of the rest of the image. To kind of counter for that new sky, if that makes sense. And the second thing I've noticed, literally just now, is the reflections. Look at that. That is so amazing. It actually adds in the clouds in the reflection down here as well. So again, that's not something I'd be doing, but I thought it'd be interesting to show. And then you've got all these kind of refinement options here as well, if you want. And to be really honest with you, I don't really know what they do. I guess it gives you the opportunity. Yeah, it gives you the opportunity to make it look a little bit more natural. Yeah, there's your relight there. So that can, this relight strength is obviously the one that I was just explaining, where it changes the lighting and the feel of the rest of the image. But yeah, if that's your thing, very, very cool. Right, and then let's just have a little bit of a general edit with this photograph. You know, and I'll go through some of the other features as if I'm just sat here editing it by myself. So I'm going to start with my mate again, accent. There we go, done. Thanks for watching, everyone. No, I'm joking. Like, it's just ridiculous. That's this accent enhance AI feature is way better than I remember. I mean, look at that. It's blowing my mind every single time I use it. Anyway, stick to the plan. I love the way that looks already. Again, this was just out on a wander, and just really was just enjoying my photography, spotting little huts off in the distance. Just, I don't know, like, it's just a sort of thing, like, you just wouldn't see a little hut like that in the UK. It'd be built differently. It'd be built with stone and bricks. Like, it just looks so Scandinavian. It's beautiful. So I'm going to add a little bit of a vignette, on a darkened vignette, just to bring the attention towards the middle. And there's a feature, yeah, there it is, dodge and burn. Now, I've genuinely not used this before. I saw it yesterday. I was looking on Luminar Neo's website, just getting to grips with some of the features that I've perhaps not used. And I saw a video of this particular feature. Now, if you don't know what dodge and burn is, very basically, it gives you the opportunity to make the brighter parts of an image brighter and the darker parts of an image darker, thus increasing the contrast a little bit. But what's cool here is we can apply the dodge and burn with a brush in only specific places. So I'm looking at the scene here now, like where is bright? That kind of green area of green grass there, that's obviously ridiculous, that's way too much. But that's what this amount slider's for. I'm going to redo that because I only want to affect that section there. Again, that's just ridiculous, it's way too much. But the amount slider can change it around a little bit. It can bring the strength down a little bit. And then I'm just going to brighten the hut up there a little bit. Obviously, I'm doing all of this now really quickly. And then if you look, very, very subtle, I'll zoom in, but there's these kind of dark sections here where the shadow is under the roof. So I can click on darken, and I can darken that section down under there a little bit. Let me just bring it up a little bit. And then if I just do, I suppose, yeah, like a little bit of before and after, you can see how we've dodged and burned just those little sections there. And then you can play around with this as much or as little as you want. And the trick is, I feel, with dodging and burning is looking at the photograph and really trying to notice where the subtle shadows are. So if I look here now, there's shadows down here. Look, there's areas of light here, so I could make these a little bit brighter. I could make this section darker. I could make this section darker, and you're applying tiny little local contrasts around the image. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't really do too much else to this photograph, except from, I don't know, I suppose I bring the sharpness up a little bit. I haven't done that. I mean, that's it. I mean, to be honest with you, and kind of goes back to what I was saying about the sky replacement thing. Even the dodge and burn, like for the most part, I don't make tons of edits to my photographs. What I really like about Luminar Neo is the opportunity to kind of like the noise reduction feature just blows my mind. It's incredible, and it saves photographs. And I like the simplicity. You know, if I don't want to sit around and edit for ages of this flipping accent feature and stuff, it's just amazing, this enhanced AI feature, if you don't want to sit around and edit for ages and ages. Going back to this image quickly, I just think it'll be a good example of it. I'll show you as well. I get a lot of questions about this effect that I have in some of my photographs. And it's really quite simple. It's called, I think it's in here, yeah. It's like a special glow, but it's called the autumn effect. There it is, specifically what I like doing. And I like using this for woodland scenes. It adds a little bit of contrast, and it sounds strange, but it adds a little bit of a blur to your images as well, and then kind of brightens it up and gives it a little bit of a glow. So you'll see it here. I'll go from 0 to like that, 100, so you can see. Gives you an idea of what it does. Obviously you wouldn't have it, or I wouldn't have it that extreme. I don't think any of us would we? But if you start from 0, move it up slightly, you can see it just adds a little bit of like a haze, like a dreaminess to your photograph. And I really love this look. You know, I really, really like it. Tell you what, just for the crack, whilst we're in here, let's do a little sky replacement, because that sky is looking a bit bland. Dramatic sunset. Let's just go for dramatic sky. This is real time, so it could be terrible. Which one? That one looks pretty cool. I'm just interested to see what it does. Do you know what? Do you know what I like about that? Is that it's not mad like before and after. It's really subtle, and again, you know, it's changing the kind of the strength. This one, it's changing the lighting of the whole photograph. Look at that, before and after. That's way too much editing for me, that, but it's been you know, a good way of me showing you all of the different features here. I'll show you here as well in this edit section. It gives like the history of all the edits that you've made. So if you want to go back in and, you know, remove some of them or change some of them from the past, you can do that as well. So it kind of keeps it all nice and organized and tidy on the right hand side. I would say that's about it, to be honest. That's kind of like everything. That's covered everything and more that I really like about Luminar Neo. So I'll show you one more. No, there's one more I've got to show here. Again, this this one isn't for me, but it's not all about me, is it? What I like. Hang on. Sun rays. So obviously the sun was streaming in from the right hand side for this photograph, and you can pop a little sun in if you want to. Look at that. Not for me. Warm it up a little bit. Something like that. It looks a bit over the top there at the minute, but yeah, you can mess around with it a little bit. Yeah, yeah, looks a bit weird, but you can play around with all these sorts of things if you want to. And I reckon that's it. That's everything about Luminar Neo, I think for the most part, that I really, really like. So much that you can do, but you don't have to do loads if you don't want to. I think that's kind of like the moral of this whole video. It goes from very, very basic, but making it easy for you, to very complicated if you want to. I mean, look, even here now, you can upscale the photographs, you can make them, you know, you can increase the resolution, stitch together panoramas, you can do focus stacks, you can do HDR merges, all sorts. It's brilliant. So a massive thank you to Luminar for supporting my work here on YouTube, for supporting me as a photographer. It's a pleasure to work with a company that I completely believe in. There'll be a link in the video description below if you want to go and check them out. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Comment down below. Let me know if you've used Luminar, if you've got any interest in it. If you've enjoyed seeing a bit of post-processing from me, that would be great to hear, because like I said at the start of the video, I don't do this very often. And if you want to hear a little bit more about my trip in Norway and see a lot of these photographs, completed edits, etc., I've fairly recently released a digital photography zine, which is kind of like a little digital photo book or photo diary, with loads of stories and anecdotes from the trip to Norway and how I took a lot of photographs, tips and tricks, and just a lot of the stories behind the images, really. It's a good way to support the channel. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, ladies and gents. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you on the next adventure. Out!